I believe that there are systems, organizations, powers that want humanity to stay in fear, because if we're afraid, we can be controlled.
On today's episode of the CLS Experience, a very exclusive treat. We are live in New York City, in person, finally. Meeting one of my best friends.
From many lives.
From many lives. Definitely one of my soulmates.
Totally.
We're going to go deep today. She's a serial entrepreneur, a best-selling author, a company builder, and just a dynamic human being. Today we're going to be going deep on her newest book, The Light Work. Please welcome back my dear friend, the beautiful, brilliant, abundant, and soulful Jessica Zweig.
Oh.
How you doing, Jess?
I've not been this good in a minute because I'm with you. You know, it's wild. I remember telling you I got this book deal, and I was like, it's called The Light Work. Don't tell anybody. And now we're here, and I think I've been on, is this my third time on your
correct.
show?
The most ever.
I'm serious. Stop.
Yeah.
The most ever?
Yeah.
The love is real. The
it's
love
weird and real.
is really weird and real. It was from, like, the instant I met you on a Zoom call years ago, and
I remember.
to be here in person with you, to do this, to talk about whatever we're going to talk about. I'm just so blessed you're in my life, my friend.
Likewise. And it definitely hits differently in person.
It
For
does.
anyone listening, I suggest meet your friends in person.
Yeah.
Big difference.
That's what it's all about. Connection, life. Yeah. Like I think we're still all sort of metabolizing the pandemic. Like at least I don't take for granted the opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
And to fly across the country and sit in sacred space and meet the people you love for real.
When I just got off that elevator, there was a moment. It was one of those really tight, eyes closed hugs.
Yeah, it
and
was.
A really special moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where do we begin? I
don't know. I mean, we could talk about so many things. We always do.
I have a good icebreaker.
Let's go.
You ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay. What does it mean to you to live an authentic life?
Oh, that's a good one.
That took a full episode.
Yeah, you just thanks for hitting me hard, Craig.
And here we go.
Here we go. I mean, I feel like it's a few things. You know, it's living your life based on your own unique assignment. And I think we really have to get clear on that assignment. And that's partially what my book talks about and my work with Simply Be did. But I think it's really tuning into what brings you the most joy. I think the most authentic people are fully, unapologetically who they are, and that creates a sense of magnetism. And that has to come from a joyful place. And I think when we're really clear on why we're here, what our soul's purpose and assignment and mission is, not to say that it's always going to be fun and easy breezy, but it gives you a sense of self that when you really turn that on and you get into alignment, or which we talk about often, I think the most authentic people are the most magnetic people, and they draw things to them and make waves.
I have the biggest smile on my face for many reasons. It's funny because it took me 35 years to really be myself.
I know.
And then everything popped off. Depending upon who you ask, people might say, oh, wow, that's early or that's really late. It's my race, my pace.
Everyone's on their own timeline, Craig.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that one of the hardest things that we can ever do is truly live an authentic life. It seems so simple. Like, what do you mean just be yourself? Mm-hmm. But I know I struggled with it.
Yeah.
And I see so many people now afraid to really be themselves and lean in.
Yeah. I mean, okay, we're going to go there. I talk a lot about in my new book, The Light Work, The Matrix. And, you know, my book is very spiritual and very like woo in a sense. And yet I believe I've really broken it down in a very accessible, digestible, relatable journey. But there is a level of, you know, we live in a 3D reality, like the third dimension includes polarity. And the biggest sort of pull between those two polarities is the spectrum of love versus fear. And I believe that there are systems, organizations, powers that want humanity to stay in fear, because if we're afraid, we can be controlled. And when we unplug from the matrix, for you, it was Wall Street, right? For me, it was like social media, you know, for some people, it's what their family system expected them to do, or their cultures and societies and schooling. Like, we are, I think, here now to really take our own power back and be sovereign human beings, to shift this collective consciousness out of fear and into love. And you have done that. Like, I was at the precipice of all of that, and look at how much beauty and love and empowerment and impact you have created, because you followed your authenticity, you followed your truth. And yes, it took a pandemic to shake it up, and yes, it was scary, and yes, you might feel like 35 was late, but like, no, it's you're here on perfect time.
Divine timing.
Divine time. It's such an exciting time right now.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
The light work.
Yeah.
So I just dig the name.
Thanks.
You know, the spirituality stuff is all I want to talk about now. It's not to say I don't talk about other things, but I'm really into it.
Yeah.
The word light gets thrown around a lot. Different philosophies, spiritualities, religions.
Mm-hmm.
What does the light work mean to you?
So I often say that people, you know, define the word light, and it does get thrown a lot, and it's around a lot, and it's being diminished, it's being misappropriated, it's being bypassed, like love and light. Like, I believe that in order to really know your light, you have to be willing to face your dark. And when you do...
Oof, it's a nugget right there.
It's true. And when you are able to walk through your dark, not around it, face it, look at it, own it, alchemize it, integrate it, claim it as a part of your human identity, you find your own power. You kind of become unfuckable with. And so that's what I say the light is you in your full magnificence, your full power, your full authenticity, your full joy. And I talk a lot about the Pleiadians in this new book, which is, here we go.
Let's do it.
It's an extraterrestrial star family that I feel like I am from, coming out of the spiritual closet here, Greg, with all my beliefs. And I've studied their work extensively, and it informed a lot of the book. And as they define light, and the Pleiadians supposedly, but I believe this to be true, were sort of the original bringers of light into humanity that created us as somewhat hybrids from other parts of the galaxy to be completely quantum, limitless, sovereign, powerful beings. And back to the matrix, we've sort of fallen asleep to that, and that's what my whole book is about. Back to the question, the word light, as they define it, as the Pleiadians define it, is simply information. Light is information. Darkness is lack of information. And we're really in the dark about a lot of the truth of this planet, which is, I believe, intended to be a very loving, harmonic place based on oneness. But you look around, open up the news or social media or talk to your friends or just like brush by someone on New York Street City, like people are just, we're in a lower vibration. And so to turn on the light, to see the full spectrum of your magnificence, to download and have access to all of the information that makes you you, and really know that the truth of this place called Earth, I believe this universe is love. Like, that is the one holy thing that it all comes back to. And we've been in the dark around that truth for so many years, for centuries. And I think it's a time for light workers right now. Literally right now.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. So there's that. So to be clear, the spark of the divine is in all of us.
Yes.
Love in all of us.
Yes.
Agreed.
Uh-huh.
So where does it go wrong? Where do people not tap into that, or turn evil, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I love this question. There's a lot of places we could take this. So where does it turn evil? So back to light being information and darkness being lack of information. Darkness, as the Pleiadians and I define it, isn't evil. It isn't scary. It isn't bad. Darkness is a part of the human experience. And we have to address the dark, like I said, and when we ignore it or suppress it or lock it away, that's when it becomes dangerous. That's when it becomes toxic. That's when it becomes putrefied and lethal, actually. Like, darkness manifests as racism and anti-Semitism and pain and trauma and all of these horrific things that happen on this planet because there's a lack of unconsciousness. And where does that come from? It comes from our programming. It comes from our ancestors, our DNA that has been co-opted by, I'm going to go off, like the toxic patriarchal masculine, unhealthy toxic patriarchy that has been suppressing humanity for years through church, state, religion, power, controlled territory. And we've inherited that into our DNA. And so we have to do our own work. We have to wake the fuck up to unplug from that system, because it's actually just a construct. It's not real. And so, that's where I would start.
Yeah. Staying there for a second, you think ego, or we call him the opponent, Kabbalah, that plays a role?
I think we all have to have an ego. I think the ego can be a beautiful thing. It's our identity, and we should embrace and be proud and honor our identities and know that we are important. I say that in the book. Like, you are reading this book, you are here listening to this podcast, you're here on this planet at this time because you are so fucking needed. Like, you are so fucking important. You have such a responsibility to shift the world with your own gifts and your own corner of it. So there has to be a healthy sense of our ego in it. But there's, of course, a shadow side to everything. Yeah. And I think that, if you look at like the patriarchy and the toxic masculine, the matrix that's being run by systems that are unfortunately driven by greed, power, and control. Yeah. And so, there's a lot of ego in that.
Like you said, the word healthy. I think a healthy relationship with the ego is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
But an unhealthy one can really cripple us.
Yes, in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many places we can go. You talk about in the book, remembering our true power.
Yeah.
How does one listening right now, maybe something tangible, how do you remember your true power?
I think it's a series of remembrances. I love that you brought this up because that's actually one of my favorite chapters in the book.
Same.
Oh, thanks. I have a chapter called Power, Claiming Radical Responsibility. And I tell the story in the book about how I was 16 years old. I was in the theater department at my high school, and I was so passionate about acting, but I kept getting cast in the ensemble, and I wanted to quit the department because I felt so defeated. And so I went to my acting professor's office and I told him I wanted to quit, and I was crying, and he was like, Jessica, it's not that you're not talented. He's like, you're not getting cast because you're not talented. You're not getting cast because it's very clear that you don't believe in yourself. And I took that on as an assignment, and I was like, I'm going to fake it till I make it. And that literally became the entire story of the last 20 years of my life since I had that conversation. And I call it like chasing the spiral of worth, and really outsourcing validation, approval, achievement, success, power through all of these external forces, like an amazing job or a beautiful partner, a perfect body, or a lot of people who listen to your podcast. It's like, what if all of those things actually went away tomorrow? Like take away the perfect body, the best-selling book, all the money you have in your bank account, like the college degrees, the courses and accreditations. Like, think about, like, if all of that stuff went away, would you still have power? Would you still be innately powerful? And my perspective is yes. We were born powerful. We were born so powerful based on how our human bodies are designed. Like, we are sacred technology. We have infinite power pulsing through our cells. And the second unlock to that is when we really start to claim radical responsibility for that and stop being a victim to our lives. And I want to be very sensitive when I say the word victim, because there are people on this planet who are definitely victimized, and we have to hold compassion for that. But the everyday person, I'll speak for myself, walked around a lot of my life being a victim to everything that was happening to me. Absolutely. Yeah. So
I've been there.
I think we all have to go through there to see that life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And that's not spiritual bypass. That is actually the truth. Yeah. And it might not feel like that in the moment if you're in a dark place, But that's the invitation to, again, I think really remember your power.
This is the juicy stuff. Like we could talk strategies and business all day, but this to me is the stuff that really moves the needle.
That's why I love you so much. So I connected with you from like day one, because you are like such a successful entrepreneur, and you teach a lot on business and building platform and creating community. But dude, you're a light worker. You're a light worker from the second I met you.
I received that.
It's true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that you said is like remembering all the magic, the light. It's all infinite. It's all there.
Yes.
We don't have to create more of it.
No.
It's all here right now.
We literally live in one of the most magical planets in the universe. At least this is, again, what I believe. And we take for granted Gaia, Mother Earth, like the beauty, the magnificence, the diversity, the just absolute sheer collection of consciousness and beings and, nature and other human beings. Like, it is a magical place, and at the same time a very painful place. And part of my spiritual journey that really activated this book and really has accelerated in the last couple of years, because I've been on the spiritual train for like 15 years and I love to like get the fuck out of here, meaning like give me the plant medicines, give me the breath work, give me the conscious mantra to get me out of my body and up into the cosmos. Like, I love to hang out like up there. And it wasn't until I went to Egypt and I went on this huge
I spoke
thing.
to you about it after you got back.
Yeah. I'm like, this is a really beautiful.
You were different when you came back. New. Different Jess.
Completely. Like, speaking of ego and identity, that version of me that you met, that's been on your podcast before, that girl died. I love her. I've integrated many pieces of her, but she literally died. And I came back new.
Would you change a thing, or was it all part of the journey?
I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, same.
No. That's why I'm saying it's all happening for you.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't feel that way in the moment.
Yeah. Side note, you sold your company.
Oh yeah, that too.
Congratulations.
NBD. Thank you.
No big deal. I know most of the stuff today is about the light work, but hell yeah.
Thanks.
That must have been a trip for many reasons.
It was. It was really. Do you want to know something crazy?
Please.
I started the business on January 2nd, 2017, and it was effectively sold in a new business on January 2nd, 2024. 7 years to the day. Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
The universe.
Divine synchronicities.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people who listen to your show are entrepreneurs and on the path of building. And I started that business with debt. Like, I had no money, just a dream. I started with like a $1,500 monthly retainer. I was like, my husband was going to kill me for quitting my corporate job and like going on this leap again, because I had run a business before and had failed it, and it left me in a ton of debt. And on that note, when I left my first business and literally $75,000 worth of credit card debt and like literally went broke at 33, that left a trauma response in my body. I think like scarcity is a physical experience.
Real quick, I just want to say I love that you talk about that stuff. When I read your first book, I think it starts right there.
It does.
And I just remember saying, wow, I'm hooked. It just made me connect.
Thank you.
And then, to be honest with you, it gave me permission to start being more vulnerable about stuff like that.
Thank you. Yeah, well.
That's how people connect with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not always 10 out of 10.
No, you have to be real.
Raw.
And and I start my first book, B, with the story of me going to my parents' house to ask them to help me pay for my phone bill because I was going to get shut off. And so after that trauma experience, I went into corporate America for 2 years to sort of, one, pay my debt, and two, like lick my wounds and heal from that. So I started at Simply Be, the company that I would sell 7 years later, with a clear vision, with a clear brand, knew I wanted to do personal branding as a service, really wanted to build a beautiful culture and team, but I really had no idea what it would become. I mean, I scaled it to a multi-million-dollar business and very quick, in like 5 years or less. And looking back on that experience, I realized, like, even though I was making so much money, I was not really in abundance. I was simply still running away from scarcity and living in a state of survival.
Wow.
And the masculine hustle.
Chasing abundance from lack.
Yes. Chasing, right, from fear.
Yeah.
From survival. And so while Simply Be was a beautiful business, that experience almost killed me building that business.
Literally.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about this in my new book, which I'm even more like naked in this book than I was in my first book. And the reality is the success game, I think that all of us, but especially women, are playing the game by rules that weren't designed for us. And we're trying to keep up with this like belief that our businesses should always look like this. And of course that's what we've been programmed to believe. And I had like doubled my revenue, doubled my team, doubled everything in like less than a year. And I was like holding up the sky of this like gargantuan monthly, like multi-6-figure payroll. Like I was the main rainmaker. Like there was so much stress on my body while I was launching the book, while I was on airplanes speaking, while I was doing the podcast. Like I was running myself into the ground, and I didn't realize it. Like I actually reveled in my ability to sprint. Like I am so fucking productive. I get more shit done in a day than the average person can do in a week.
Talk to you about this.
Like
take pride in it.
Pride in it.
Outwork everyone.
100%. I love what I do. I love Mondays. Crush it. Like that was my vibe. And then I found myself in the winter of 2022, a year after my first book launch.
That's not so long ago.
It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. Literally unable to leave my house. Literally unable to shower. Literally unable to socialize. And was diagnosed with situational depression from the burnout. Like the burnout, when we throw that word around a lot. And I know many of us have felt fatigue and tired and like extreme tired, but like burnout is a full mental, physical, emotional breakdown and spiritual breakdown. Like I had nothing left. And yet 22 just carried on. That was one of the worst and hardest years of my life, 22. And it wasn't until the end of that year that I went to Egypt and I died. That girl died.
In the book, there's a whole section about bouncing back from burnout and depression, correct?
Yeah.
I think that's so helpful for a lot of people, specifically entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I mean, what I did do to treat my depression was my therapist had recommended I go to a psychiatrist and get on medication, like an SSRI or a benzo. And I was open to it. I was like, I just want to feel better. This is death. So whatever it takes. And I got referred to a holistic psychiatrist. And I took one call with him, and it was an hour-long Zoom. I will never forget it. I fucking bawled to him the entire time, told him my whole life story. And at the end, he looked at me and he was like, Jessica, you don't need medication. What you need to do is sleep. And you need to balance your hormones. And I'm going to put you on a ketamine protocol. So ketamine is a psychedelic that you can get administered at like actual health clinics with nurses and doctors. And what it does, from what I learned from my doctor, is yes, you have psychedelic experiences. You can go back into like childhood trauma and like really accelerate psychological healing. But what it does on a physical level is it reduces the inflammation in your brain. Because when we're depressed, our brains are literally inflamed. It's a physical ailment. And the left brain and the right brain hemispheres can't connect and talk to one another. And it just creates a whole bunch of disease in the body. And so ketamine reduces the inflammation. I did a three times a week, 2 weeks in a row, so 6 treatments, and it healed my depression. Like I felt like I got my brain back. It was incredible. It's miraculous. But I say this in my book, the ketamine healed my depression, but it didn't heal my habits. I went right back into the grind. I had no choice. And so many things accelerated that year. I had to reorg half my company. Like, we were struggling financially. Like, when you grow that fast, you don't grow that fast for ever. Like, when you get to a certain point of size, you start to, even out.
Grow a little bit less.
Grow a little less, exactly. And I was all egoed out about that. Like, why aren't we growing at the same rate we were in years 1 through 4? And I had to let go of some really beautiful people that I had hired that weren't doing their jobs. And then I went to Egypt, and I can talk all about that. But I think your question was like, what do you have to say to entrepreneurs who are like, all like want to be in the build mode?
I just think it's so helpful that you really go deep on this stuff and showcase how to respond from burnout and depression, because it's a real thing.
It's a real fucking thing. And we have to hold ourselves so accountable to not falling prey to that lifestyle. Like, I came back from Egypt. Now, I will say that I got my business right. Like, I had put someone in place. This is great advice, actually, to entrepreneurs. I had hired a woman that was basically my operator, like my integrator. She was very expensive. She was a total investment. She brought everything to the table, however, that I couldn't do on my own. And she got me out of the weeds of my business in 23. And I literally, my word for the year was joy. And that's really the through line of the entire book as well. The light work is like, the name of the game is joy. And if you aren't having fun at least every day, like, that sounds lofty and like kind of embarrassing to even like that we shouldn't, who are we to have that much fun or prioritize joy or take space, shut it down at 3, like go for a walk, play, dance, make art, like travel, eat good food, like snuggle your puppies, like making joy your fucking job. That's at least how I healed. And yes, we go through seasons. Right now I'm in one of those seasons of busy, and I have a whole new set of not only tools, but like standards and values that are non-negotiable.
I think that's awesome that you said you're still in a season of busy, but you have new tools that you're equipped with.
Yeah.
And also different values and intentionality.
Yeah.
Specifically joy, non-negotiable.
Yes.
Otherwise, what's the point of all this?
And new awareness.
Yeah. Consciousness.
Like, when I went to Egypt, I talk about this in my book. Hopefully your listeners go read the whole thing. But
mandatory.
But thank you. But I feel like I'll just give a boiled down version. I had like a really insane experience in one of those temples where you're on no medicine, you're completely sober, and you have like visions, you hear things, your body move. Like, it is a very powerful place, Egypt. And I had an activation where the Palladians came through, and the goddess of Hathor like spoke through me. And there's a lot of things they said to me in that experience, but the main thing they said to me was like, Jessica, you missed the whole fucking point of this human experience. And it's for it to be fun. Like, to be in a human body is such a blessing. This is meant for your bliss. Like, this is meant for your pleasure.
What if having fun is the whole point?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what if? And back to your question about authenticity, like, get into your joy vibration. Like, no one can fuck with you when you're when you're genuinely embodied in your joy.
Right. Yeah. This is unbelievable.
You're unbelievable.
So are you.
I just love you.
Likewise. There's another part in the book which I think is really cool. I don't know if you talk about this often, but that is connecting to spirit.
Yeah.
How does one connect to spirit?
Well, that's a very, I think, personal question because, and not for me, but like for anyone listening, I believe that your relationship to spirit, like whatever you might call it, God, Jesus, universe,
Harry.
What exactly?
Quantum, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you call that thing should be the most intimate personal relationship you have in your life. And know rabbi or pastor or Bible or guru should be able to tell you what that is. Like, that's for you to co-create, for you to decide, for you to create a real relationship with and put like your own definition around. I was born and raised Jewish, and Same. I know, shalom, my brother. And, was bat mitzvahed and like grew up in a predominantly Jewish community and went to temple on Rosh Hashanah, like reformed. And when I was 19 years old, I also tell this story in the book, I went to Europe by myself because I was getting over a boy. I was all heartbroken about my first love. So I was like, I'm going to go far away. And I went to Europe for like a month in between freshman and sophomore year.
Sounds sick.
It was. I mean, I saved a lot of money from waitressing and like backpacked and stayed at hostels, but I was 19. And I went to Ireland. I went to a town called Kilkenny, and I was like traversing through the streets like a tourist, and I came across a chapel built in the 15 or 1400s or something crazy like that. And I said to myself, am I allowed to go in? I'm Jewish. I've never stepped foot in a Christian space in my life. I had only stepped into synagogues. So I chose to go in just because I'm like, I'm just a tourist. I'm not really a Jewish person trespassing in a Christian space. I'm just a tourist enriching my travels. So I walk into this beautiful chapel, stained glass, like a red carpet, golden wooden pews. I will never forget that moment. And I sat down thinking I would stay for 5 minutes and leave. And I sat down, and my grandmother had died about 4 or 5 months before this trip. And because I was so caught up in this heartbreak over this dude, I didn't really grieve her. I was like 19 years old and so in my own world. And I immediately felt my grandmother put her arms around me. And I sat in that pew and I cried for like 2 hours, literally. And I just apologized and told her how sorry I was that I didn't grieve her, how much I missed her. And she's my guardian angel. Like, I feel her around my shoulders whenever I need her. And that was really the beginning of the beginning for me, Craig. And to just go back to your question, like, I had to reconcile, like, wait, this is a house of God. Like, God is all of us. Like, God is love. And we are all pieces of that divine source. Mm. And so I tell the story in the book about how that set me on this huge path to like make sense of it all and to define it on my own terms, and came to realize that like it's not up there, it's in here. Mm.
Yeah. So good. I think that, I try not to put anything on anyone else because I do respect everyone's beliefs and so forth. However, I would say to anyone listening to triple down on that connection. Whatever spirit divine is for you, if you want to go higher, you got to go deeper.
Yes. Ooh, that's a quotable. That's really true. Yeah. That's really true. I mean, I often say like, my book is called The Light Work, but it's really a book about the dark. Like, it's about all the dark, deep, hard shit that only accelerated my connection to the light.
Yeah. That's where the good stuff is.
That's where the good stuff is.
Yeah. There's another chapter in the book. We're all over the map today.
You read it. I love you.
Of course.
Pieces of it.
We talk about money, which is always it's a universal fun topic. Mm-hmm. And I know that we're both works in progress.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong transformation. We talk about rewriting the abundance codes.
Yes.
What does that even mean?
You really did go through my book. I love it. No, I would never expect anything less from you. You're the real deal. Craig Siegel's a real deal, you guys. He's as amazing in person as he is on the internet. You. No, I mean it. Like, you are a light worker. You're doing God's work. You're doing such important work. And
thank you.
It makes all the sense to me that you have had the success that you have, because it's such a manifestation of your soul.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean it. I know your audience loves you, and I'm just here to reinforce, like, there's a reason. What was the question? Money.
The abundance codes.
Yeah, the abundance codes. I remember the question.
I love that. We're running the abundance codes.
So back to what I was saying earlier about like my Simply Be days, I was running away from going broke again. And even though I was making all of this money, there was such a lack of safety that I had in my body to hold it, to receive it, to trust it. And I'm all for, like, there is a huge movement right now on like manifestation. Like that's one of the biggest words you'll see on the internet. And I'm here for it. And yet I think it's only half the story. I think when we're talking about visualization and, you know, like building, kind of rewiring our brains and affirmations and like speaking what we want into existence, like it's the content, it's not the context. It has to move out of our minds, and it has to really begin in our bodies. And I really had to understand my own sense of like actual physical desire to survive in my body. And if you really look at humanity's evolution, and I say this on every I'm not a scientist, but like I've done enough of my own research, like there was a time when humanity was like being chased by tigers and living in tents and starving and freezing. Like there was something called like the survival of the fittest, and the fittest always won. There's a reality to that, and it is part of our human evolution. And this has been wired into our DNA, like our lineage is of our parents and their parents' parents and their parents' parents' parents. And so while we're sitting here on Instagram looking at like these millionaires who are teaching us how to manifest, I feel like they're really not talking enough about how we have to really rewire our abundance codes in our body, our codes meaning our cells, our DNA, to learn how to trust that we are safe and we don't have to run from anything or chase anything, that we can actually receive, magnetize, attract, allow, surrender. And that's a very, in my view, feminine approach to creating money. And I have a whole chapter about that in the book.
Yeah. I think of the word vessel.
Yes.
It's kind of coming full circle. I was talking about before, like all of it's already out there.
Yeah.
It's not about doing more. It's about being able to receive more.
Yeah.
By expanding our vessel on what we're capable of receiving.
Yes, absolutely. And I have a chapter in the book called The Body, Your Sacred Vessel. And I
Nice
just
word, vessel.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite. You really are like a vessel to receive. And that's why like there's a downward facing triangle, like that represents like a lot of things.
Same tattoo you have?
Yes, of
Hell
course.
Yeah.
I'm crazy like that. Thank you. But it's like a chalice, you know, it's like a cup, like to truly allow things to come in and just be, like magnetize it, like sit in full embodiment of your value, of your worth. Trust that you are taken care of, that you're not going to die, that you don't need to like, and this might be hard to hear for people who are like, well, I have to pay my bills and I've got a payroll to afford and a family to feed. And some of us might be living a paycheck to paycheck. And like, how do I not, like, it's a practice, and it's a real, I think one of our biggest invitations right now in humanity to really remember just how limitless we are. And I think that we get there by being embodied in our joy. Like truly that's what makes the magnetism kick in and the hustling stop.
We're talking about money right now, but this is really applicable for anything you want to receive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In regards to money, I think a good way to think about it also is that it's not really ours. It's something borrowed.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to flow.
Yeah.
It has energy. It feels how we feel towards it.
Absolutely.
Right. So you could say anything you want, but if you're hoarding it, or if you're afraid not to, spend it, money doesn't want to hang out with you anyway.
I love that you said this. I literally write this in the book. I have the 8 divine feminine, and feminine doesn't necessarily mean women only. It's a value. It's a vibration. The 8 divine feminine embodiments of wealth. And a few of those 8 embodiments are generosity, reciprocity, like give to give, know that what you give is what you get, equanimity, knowing that all things need to be balanced, service, trust, receptivity, frequency, that it's a whole new perspective on how to manifest money.
Yeah. So good.
Thanks.
So universal. Like a lot of the stuff we talked about today is spiritual, but there's a lot in here that's applicable for anybody in any capacity.
I hope so. Especially if you're open to aliens.
Well, some of the stuff, yeah.
I say in the book, like, my job isn't here to convince you to believe in anything that doesn't resonate. Like, take what works for you and leave the rest.
Take the fruit, leave the peel.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. A couple more chapters come to mind.
Tell me.
One, you talk about mentorship.
Yeah.
And you had a couple different mentors.
Yeah.
And one of them was a cosmic mentor.
Yeah.
For anyone listening, what the hell is a cosmic mentor?
Yeah. So when I was writing this book, I was like, I'm really here for humanity, if you couldn't tell. And it's not just about like going through our own dark shit to find our own unique light and heal our own bodies and make our own money and thrive in our own lives. It's like, what are we doing now that's going to make the world a better place? Like, I don't have kids. I do have 2 nephews and a niece that they're my blood.
They're the best.
Love being an aunt.
No responsibilities.
No, have them back.
Shout out to my brother.
Shout out to my brother. But I think about them and I'm like, what's the world going to look like when they're 50, you know? And their kids are 50. Like, what we're up to right now, you and me, Craig, like everyone listening, like, we're creating that world. So I wanted to put in the book like a whole section called Future Light, which is the final section. And in that section's a chapter called Mentorship. And when we think of the word mentor, we think of like a professional mentor. And I kind of open up the aperture for people to see mentorship through a different lens. That yes, professional mentors are definitely important, but so are activator mentors, like people who come into our lives that maybe teach us nothing about our business, but teach us everything about who we are in life. We have our virtual mentors, which are like, for me, it's like Marianne Williamson, although she's become a friend. Like, yeah. I've, watched like, Wayne Dyer, like people who are, you'll never meet, but they've mentored you through their work. Sure. And then there's the cosmic mentor. And these are essentially like goddesses and beings and spirit guides and ancestors, those beings that are literally in the quantum cosmic dimensions that we can commune with and get messages from and work with and call upon. And so for me, it was Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance in the Hindu faith, that became a cosmic mentor for me. She completely shifted my reality with money.
Should everybody have a cosmic mentor?
I mean, I'm biased, but I think it wouldn't hurt.
Right.
I don't think it would hurt you at all. I mean, it depends on your spectrum of belief.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm pretty clear that this isn't the only reality.
Same. And for anyone listening that maybe this is a little much, I would just say, what is spirituality? To me, spirituality means that you believe that there's something else going on here beyond our logic.
Yeah.
If you could believe in that, then maybe you could believe in this stuff too and give it a chance.
Yeah.
See what it does for your life.
See what it does for your life.
Yeah.
Open your heart to it. Know that you're not here by accident.
Right. With the mentors, there's a 4th one too. Mentees.
Yes.
Tell me more.
I love you, Craig. You did read it. I love this. So, like, when I was thinking about this book, the light work, and like looking at the planet, like from a quantum, like unit, like down, up in the stars, like looking down at the planet and like thinking about the light workers here and how we're literally illuminating the world, which is the title in the book. Like, the visual that came to me was literally like billions of people like holding these like torches, like these like candle like flames, like all like crossing the globe, connected. And like we get that light from someone else. Like we it's our job to like continue to pass the light, so the light continues to burn. And I think that if you've been mentored, you should mentor someone else. And one of my this is in the book, but from a movie I watched. Are you familiar with like Curtis Duffy, Alinea, Grant Achatz, like huge chefs in Chicago?
No, should I be?
I mean, if you're into food, you would know their names.
Okay.
And Grant Achatz is the chef and the founder of Alinea, which was one of the number one restaurant in the world for like so many years. In Chicago.
Nice.
Literally like blew them all, like Chicago. And he had a chef de cuisine, so some guy that worked under him in the kitchen for like years named Curtis Duffy. And Curtis Duffy ended up leaving Alinea to go start his own restaurant. And Alinea had like 2 Michelin stars at that point. And Curtis Duffy was like, I want to open my restaurant and go for 3. And they did a documentary on Curtis Duffy on Netflix. I watched this movie. It was so good. And in the film, they interview Grant Achatz, because it's like Curtis's restaurant. It's like his story, but they like went back to Grant and was like, and they asked him in the interview, how are you going to feel if Curtis Duffy, who was beneath you, technically, is going to go for 3 stars in his new place and you only have 2? And Grant Achatz said the most brilliant thing. He said, well, if the protege doesn't outdo the mentor, then the mentor didn't do a very good job, did they?
Oof.
Not good.
Unbelievable.
And I'm like, yeah, that's what it's about. Like,
that is good.
Yeah. Like, be of service. Like, talk about ego. Get it out of the way. Get out of the way. Like, your lifetime is only, I think, truly your legacy is only measured on what you leave behind and how you touch people. Yeah. I wrote
powerful.
About it, isn't it?
I feel like a lot of people, like, in our field, they mentor people, but they never really want them to do better than them.
Yeah.
But then you're missing the whole point.
You're missing the whole point. It's a very, like...
That's good.
Yeah, it is. It's the new earth. It's a new earth when we create that abundance consciousness. And we're able to really lay down our own, again, sense of pride, ego, survival, and allow and work toward everyone thriving.
I want everybody to grab this book. And actually, I'd like you to grab 2. One for a friend or a family member, anybody that you think could benefit if you love this conversation.
Thank you.
And we're going to land the plane with this one. I've been excited to ask you about this. A section on miracles. Let's unpack that. Take us home.
Okay. Well, as the Course in Miracles, which is a very famous text, if you're into spirituality, you've probably heard of it, say that a miracle is a holy instant when everything shifts. And it doesn't take necessarily a lifetime or years of pain and trauma. Like, your life can shift in a moment, and that's the miracle. And miracles is the final section of the final chapter of the book. And without giving too much away, I take you into, when I was in Egypt, I went to the Great Pyramid in the King's Chamber, which is in Giza. Everyone knows that pyramid. You've seen it all over everything. And we were in pitch black. It was so uncomfortable. I was sweating. It smelled. It was hot. And I found no light there. But I found love. I found complete, all-encompassing, universal love in that space. It was wild. And my holy instant was to know I'm always that loved. And I am that love. And the miracle, I believe, is the everyday person walking around in their joy and in their full expression of who they are. Like, that is the fucking miracle. And so I hope my readers have many holy instants in this book reading it and really see themselves and their relationships and their personal power and body and emotions and money in a completely different way. And it's a miracle when we shift our perspective.
And to be clear, this is not just for women, this book.
No.
Because I got a ton out of it.
I know you did.
So I want to reiterate that, because it does say reclaim your feminine power.
Yeah, but the feminine is an energy.
And even a man can have feminine power.
I was literally, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about binary gender. It's about values. And we need the masculine. The masculine is so beautiful and divine and needed. And we're just a little out of balance right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm on both sides, and it's just an invitation to look at your darkness in a whole new light and find your light, your power.
Yeah. The last question I have is, we're talking a lot about like the 99% realm, like all the spiritual stuff, which is the good stuff, which is most of what's going on here.
Yeah.
But we should still unapologetically celebrate milestones in the 1% 3D world, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Always. That
Part of the human experience.
yes. I think that's essential to remember. Like we are literally human beings in this reality. We can't escape that. We should celebrate that, lean into the gift of this human experience. I mean, last thing I'll say, when I was in Egypt in that temple and the Palladians spoke through me and they were like, Jess, you missed the whole point. It's all supposed to be fun. You want to know what else they told me? Like literally, I wrote it all down in my notes app when it was done. They said, you get to eat chocolate. You get to kiss your puppies. You get to have sex. You get to wear cute clothes. You get to travel the world and go to places like this. You get to chase a purpose and build a business around it. Like, it is so incredibly amazing to be in a human body, to be in this dimension.
What a gift.
Exactly. So while the journey of spirituality is, I think, to each their own, we have to, I think, really embrace this human experience with more joy.
Yeah. I love it. I know that you're doing your rounds right now.
Yeah.
Putting the book out there because the world needs it.
Thank you.
So I tried to ask you a lot of stuff today that you're probably not talking about as much.
No.
To give our listeners an inside look.
Yeah, no,
because I know how
appreciate
valuable
you.
and special this book is. And it's so vulnerable. And I want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
Anything that I missed that you'd like to tell the listeners, other than go buy the book, obviously. Buy two.
And thanks for that. No, I mean, I hope that people find in our connection and like friendship and chemistry, like I didn't see Craig's Instagram or like podcast downloads or like website. Like, I saw you, and like there's such a richness to this connection that has nothing to do with any of that. Like, you've celebrated my success and followed my journey and like sold my business. You clapped for me. Like, but I just think that the real name of the game is going back to what we said at the beginning, is authenticity and authentic connection. And it's where the good stuff lies. That's why people probably tune into your show. So I know, go buy the book at thelightworkbook.com, and I can shout out all the things that you'll get when you buy it. Yeah, tons of bonuses. But no, just thank you. I love you.
I love you too. I think that the word soulmate is more than just intimate.
100%.
I believe you're one of my soulmates.
I know we are. It's like the second we dropped in, I'm like, hi again. Yeah. I've seen you before. Good 100%. To meet you back in this life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, land the plane with a little rapid fire, 1 or 2 word answers.
Great. Let's
Ready?
try. Yeah, I'm very long-winded, but I will try.
That's okay. Favorite movie?
Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow.
It's a good one?
It's like the essence of that movie is like genius. Okay. It's just about how like the microest, smallest, tiniest adjustments into life can change the course of your entire life. It's really good.
Okay. Your last meal on earth would be?
French fries and a burger.
Oh, same.
Yes.
Cheeseburger? Forget about it.
Cheeseburger, yeah. With like a brioche bun and a pickle and like some really good sauce, but ketchup with my fries.
Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite guilty pleasure?
Instagram? My favorite guilty pleasure. No, it's not. That's not a pleasure. That's a problem. I would say, see, I'm very human. I scroll. My favorite guilty pleasure is, I mean, I really love getting my makeup done. Like, I'm a girl's girl. I love like beauty products and good hair care and nails. And like, I really try and treat myself like a queen, you know, and eat well, drink well, sleep well. Like my body, my self-care game is like, I don't really even feel guilty about that, but it does bring me a lot of pleasure.
I actually recently started like on a few other Sundays, go and get my nails done.
Nice. You
I
should.
just got done the nice little shiny coating.
I love it. You're so fly.
Confidence.
I love, head to toe.
But it's so relaxing.
It does. It makes such a difference.
Yeah, do some good like white space thinking, connecting.
Yes.
I don't even think it's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite workout?
I love Melissa Wood. She's like a Pilates instructor.
Okay.
She has like a virtual platform with like hundreds of workouts. It's like 20, 30 minutes of toning. I love walking. Like I walk. I try and get 10,000 steps a day. Doesn't always work, but that's my goal.
Yeah, it's good intention.
And I do Pilates.
Okay, cool.
Mat Pilates. Once in a while I'll take a bar class.
Okay. Your favorite book, not including yours?
My favorite book.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. What came to me is so good. A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle. That book rocked my world. I had like an existential crisis after I read that book.
Sounds right up your alley.
Yeah. I love A New Earth. I mean, there's so many good ones, but that's a go-to.
Okay.
And then I just got to give a shout out to one of my absolute favorite fiction books that I just read. Fiction is also, that's a guilty pleasure. I just read this amazing book called Remarkably Bright Creatures. Oh, so good. It's like about an octopus. I know that sounds wild, but like octopus are smarter than we are by like a million times. And it's this beautiful story of a woman who connects with this octopus. It sounds wild and weird, but it was profound.
Something just happened just there.
What?
Like I used to only say, personal development books, stuff like that. Anything else is kind of a waste of time. Just when you describe that, you made me want to go get a fiction book and just enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Disconnect for a little bit and connect to that.
I'm telling you, I've started picking up way more fiction books in the last like 2 years since I healed my body and nervous system burnout.
There's always messages in it.
I mean, it's a total escape, and it just brings me so much joy to read fiction. And when you get into a good one, I mean, there's like kind of nothing like it. And it does open your heart and like make you think differently about life and a lot of things.
It's so crazy. For 39 years, I didn't even want to do that, and you just got me just like that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Not a surprise. Last one, very deep stuff. Favorite musician?
Oh my God. Stevie Nicks. Fleetwood Mac.
That was pretty quick for you.
Yeah, but she's my girl.
Okay.
I have a huge, huge piece of art with Stevie Nicks on it in my office.
I love it.
She's my spirit animal.
I love it, and I love you.
I love you.
Thank you so much for coming by today.
Are you kidding me? Thank you for making this happen for me.
New York looks good on you.
Thank you.
And this just in, your best is yet to come.
Same for you, my friend.
Love
Let's
you.
go. I love you.